all know how incredibly tough it can be to actually learn and, more importantly, retain complex information. Well, today in this explainer, we're building your ultimate learning toolkit from the ground up. We're going to move step by step from the exact moment before you even start studying all the way to permanent memory storage.
I mean, we've all felt the familiar pain of cramming, right? You sit there for hours, just staring at a screen or a textbook, and by the end of the night, you feel like all that agonizing, brute force effort yielded absolutely zero retention. Sound familiar? It is exhausting. And frankly, it's just not how the human brain is designed to learn. So today, we're ditching the chaos, and we're building a machine that actually works.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, optimizing your study workflow. Second, training the mind. Third, the science of breaks. Fourth, mastering deep comprehension. And finally, ensuring long-term retention.
All right, starting with Phase 1, optimizing your study workflow, focusing on preparation and prioritization.
Our foundational strategy here is the Pareto principle, commonly known as the 80-20 rule. According to academic insights from Edmund Rice College, a massive 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. I mean, think of learning like a road trip. You wouldn't just jump in the car and start driving without picking a destination first, right? So before you dive into any assignment, you absolutely have to choose the right goal. Ask yourself, what is the 20% of this material that's actually going to yield 80% of my desired grade? You need to identify those critical concepts and allocate your time strictly to them, completely ignoring the fluff.
Now, once you've mapped out that critical 20%, you really need to clear out the administrative noise. And we can do this using open-source tools to build your very own digital assistant. Take a platform like N8N, for example. Instead of wasting an hour manually browsing for sources, you can just set up a simple trigger. Every morning, it reads an RSS feed of your required academic journals, slices out the top 3 articles, and boom, emails them directly to your inbox. You're completely automating the prep work, which saves your precious mental energy for the deep, focused work that actually matters.
Moving right along to Phase 2, training the mind, or entering the zone.
Take a look at this really fascinating insight from Vanessa Loader, shared via Insight Timer. She says, by training the mind to bring awareness back to the present moment again and again, students of meditation learn to enhance their ability to focus. You know, we so often frame meditation as just a way to relax, but for a student or a professional, it's actually like weightlifting for your attention span. Imagine being able to physically rewire your brain to ignore that constant urge to check your phone. Well, that is exactly what a daily meditation practice does for you. The research shows it enhances cognition, giving a major boost to your short-term memory and overall comprehension. Instead of a messy, cluttered mind, you gain pure mental clarity. By practicing this simple act of returning your focus over and over, you are literally lengthening your periods of sustained attention. Plus, you're building a bulletproof defense against exam-related anxiety.
So how do we actually do it? Well, here are the practical steps you can execute right before a heavy study session to really get into the zone. Step 1, find a quiet, comfortable space. Step 2, focus on your breathing to center your attention. Step 3, and this is key, when your mind inevitably wanders, and trust me, it's going to immediately drift to what's for dinner, just gently bring it back. And Step 4, continue this for just 5 to 10 minutes. This practice, often called mental noting, trains you to notice when you've drifted, vastly expanding your mind's capacity to stay locked onto your materials.
Okay, let's talk about Phase 3, the science of breaks and sustaining your energy.
Let's be real, even the absolute best focus eventually fades. So let's look at some really cool findings from a Semantic Scholar study that compared 3 different break-taking techniques. First up is the Pomodoro technique. That's strict 25-minute work periods followed by 5-minute breaks. It's fantastic for forcing task completion, but that rigid timer, it can actually snap you out of a flow state and increase mental fatigue a lot faster. Next is flow time. This is where you take a break based on how long you've naturally been studying. While this protects your deep focus, researchers found it can actually decrease your motivation faster over a long session. And finally, self-regulated breaks, which is just pausing whenever you feel like it. The problem here is it's highly subjective and risks constant self-interruption. But the truly fascinating takeaway from all of this, overall task completion and productivity levels remain remarkably similar across all 3 methods. Basically, there's no single magic bullet. You just need to pick the framework that best suits how your own personal energy fluctuates.
Which brings us to Phase 4, mastering deep comprehension, or processing information.
Think about this profound quote from Mortimer Adler for a second, highlighted by Farnham Street. The person who says he knows what he thinks but cannot express it usually does not know what he thinks. This is a trap we absolutely all fall into.
We use complex jargon, we nod along with the textbook, but that jargon usually just masks a total lack of true understanding. So to combat this, we rely on the methodology of Nobel laureate Richard Feynman.
The Feynman technique is brilliant because it strips away that illusion of competence in 4 simple, highly actionable steps. First, you select a concept, take a blank page, and map out everything you know about it. Second, write it down in simple words that a 12-year-old child would understand, because let me tell you, writing things down reveals gaps in your understanding immediately. Third, when you hit a weak spot and realize, uh-oh, I can't actually explain this simply, go back to the source material and refine your explanation. And finally, test it by teaching it to someone else without using your notes, then archive it away.
And finally, we arrive at phase 5, ensuring long-term retention, permanent storage.
All right, let's talk about the spacing effect. This is a robust psychological phenomenon that demonstrates learning is vastly more effective when study sessions are spaced out over time rather than massed altogether. In a massive review of over 270 cases, spaced practice outperformed massed practice almost every single time. Here's the crazy part. Your brain physically requires time gaps, we're talking days or even weeks, to encode information effectively into long-term memory. I mean, think about the incredible relief in that. You are literally supposed to walk away from your desk. Let's just compare the two approaches directly. Massed practice, which is essentially just cramming, leads to your brain getting completely bored of seeing the exact same thing back to back. It offers you nothing but a short-term illusion of knowing. But distributed practice, spacing things out, forces your brain to work harder. By letting some time pass, you're making recalling the information slightly more difficult. And that struggle, it's like lifting a heavier weight at the gym. It actually builds a deeper, much more permanent memory trace. Spacing is literally the difference between just passing a test tomorrow and actually acquiring knowledge for a lifetime.
So I'm going to leave you with this final question today. Will you continue the exhausting cycle of cramming, or are you ready to build your ultimate learning workflow right now? From using the 80-20 rule to pinpoint your exact goals, to automating your prep work, training your attention with meditation, managing your breaks, simplifying concepts with the Feynman technique, and finally utilizing the spacing effect, you now have the ultimate toolkit. It's time to transform learning from this chaotic, stressful event into a highly tuned machine. The choice and the toolkit are now yours. Thank you so much for joining me on